like the collective consciousness that we all have just by being here, but that we represent so many different neighborhoods, but our experiences are shared and the things that we see and what we navigate as we walk block to block. And so I appreciate y'all, and I'm just honored to be able to share some of the poetry that I wrote with my mom, with writing about my mom. And it's perfect because a lot of the sharing that I'm going to do is going to kind of focus on my experiences through my Black girlhood, growing up in North Philly in the 80s and 90s as well. And so I hope you enjoy. I'm going to read a few, and then we just going to stick. All right. I have not memorized any of the poems, but that's all good. I'm going to read. Family, y'all with me? Ashe? All right, we be rolling. Okay, so I talk about Wildflowers. Wildflowers is, you know, the reimagining of my mother's life, but this poem will tell you exactly what it is and how I created it. Wildflowers. Some of us lost our mothers twice. We healed through Nommo. We heal by rewriting our mothers' stories. We liberate our mothers by rewriting their stories. We create space for them, untold stories, and worlds reimagined. We reclaim the narratives of our families. We reclaim the narratives of our communities with lives lived fully, untampered, unabashedly free, rooted to the earth. Wildflowers. We take back the years stolen, we heal. In the spirit of Sankofa, we remember remnants of their soul and we realive them, their voices, their desires, their pleasures, their humanness, their ambitions before they were tampered with, their joy before they were violated, their innocence before they were robbed, before they were taken from us. Wildflowers. We hear them as vibrations from their wombs where we lay nuzzled, heartbeat to heartbeat, the blood of our blood. We create new imagery, untainted, unoppressed. The act of replacing images of our mothers as crack mothers is a liberatory act. We write to heal. We write to see them as the multidimensional beings they are, seeing them in their possible futures. Wildflowers. We write for our grandmothers to reverse and disrupt the pain that they felt when they lost their daughters. We write for our other mothers on bent knees pressed towards the earth while praying for their sisters. We reclaim our power in creating space for our mothers, our sheroes, our ancestors. We create worlds where our mothers can live freely, beautifully, unharmed, untamed, wild and free, under a new sun and a willow tree. Wildflowers. All right. Woo. That's Wildflowers. So that's my energy, family. You know, I did a lot of crying, I did a lot of releasing, but the energy of this work is about reclamation, and this is the starting point, okay? So as part of my journey, and I talk about growing up in North Philly and navigating what it was like just on the block and just ducking and weaving and watching my mother engage in nefarious activities in Fairmount Park by the Dell. You know, I remember playing at the playground at 34th and Cumberland. And, you know, we just, since it was like a trigger, you know, we saw what we saw and then we just went and got a water ice. You know, we went and got a hot pretzel. You know, we just lived. But one of the things I talk about is double dutch. I talk about the nostalgia. I talk about, you know, our teachers. And double dutch was a teacher, okay? So the next poem that I'll read, I'm gonna read a little bit of the book that leads up to the poem because I think it's important to kind of contextualize. So I'll just talk a little bit about Strawberry Mansion in the 90s. During the 1990s, the Strawberry Mansion neighborhood was impacted by an economic decline, neglected by police, infested with urban decay, abandoned homes, lots, and businesses spread throughout the neighborhood. It was in these abandoned lots where I played with my brother and my friends. During the 1990s, our neighborhood had the lowest average home price in the city, coupled with the second highest number of violent crimes in Philadelphia. Schools suffered. The neighborhood was decrepit. Consequently, over the next decade, starting in 2000, our neighborhood witnessed a 20% decline in its population. Nevertheless, our hood and our blocks were our home place, and I never felt or saw my neighborhood as unsafe at all. Through the lens of my girlhood growing up, those like my mom were peripheral players to a whole different world of Black culture and community. We were latchkey kids, and we were guardians of our homes and protectors of our family business. We knew to take the meat out the freezer when our grandparents weren't home. We knew to tie up the phone. We knew not to tie up the phone line by calling our friends on three-way. As kids, we played all day. We were explorers of our neighborhoods, playing at Fairmount Park, climbing the gates of the Dell Music Center, and we knew to be back on the block before the street lights came on. We came up on block parties, fish fries, dollar hoagies from the Poppy store, chopsticks in our hair, curveball, playing jacks, black lip line around, clip lip gloss, and hopscotch. There was nothing but bliss in my childhood. As the boys were out playing with their spinning tops and the girls were sitting out front doing gimp, showing off our latest designs, cobra, butterfly, box, zipper, circle, snake around the pole. Our pastime activities stretched our imaginations. We were inventors. The streets made us, and Double Dutch was life. There the poem started. Challenge one. Big Mac, filet of fish, quarter pounder, French fry, icy cola, milkshake, foot. Double Dutch was life, and as Black girls, the game was our teacher. The game was a portal for us to be whatever Black girl we wanted to be, shape-shifting in the streets. Black girls grew wiser and stronger after an afternoon game of playing Double Dutch. Class was in session, and we learned respect, life skills, social skills, confidence, responsibility, public speaking, time management, and negotiation. We sure did. Deference was always given to the eldest Black girl. She was always the fly big sister on the block. If you were the youngest, you were stuck on the ends until you were told it was your turn. This was not to punish the young girls. This was to teach the young girls to master the art of turning the rope. Because all the Black girls knew that to be a master jumper, you needed to master the art of controlling and turning the rope first. Black girls teaching kinesthetic knowledge as prerequisites on the sidewalk, using sensory feedback from bodily movements with our environment to acquire knowledge, skills, and understanding. Baby Double Dutch was our teacher. Girl Scout, do your duty, cause these are the rules you must obey. Salute to the captain, bow to the king. Turn all around like a submarine. Double Dutch was life, and as Black girls, the game was our teacher. Faces covered when another Black girl said she was paying. Black girls teaching lessons about consequences under the street lights, teaching us accountability and how to take responsibility for our choices. We laced up our high-top Reeboks, Nikes, Chucks, and our Keds. R-E-E, be okay, do your pussies the Reebok way. Street cred was given if you could jump real good. It was a life flex when the boys were watching. Nike, who can do the Nike? Foot to the Nike. We took breaks when the ice cream truck came down the block. We made sure to remember each other's places in the game. Black girls teaching Black girls how to exercise long memories. We made sure to always ask our blood mothers and other mothers if we could please buy a new rope from the 5 and dime store. We made sure to keep up our supply. My grandma called them clotheslines, but us Black girls called them ropes. I knew better than to correct an elder, so I called them clotheslines too when I was talking to her. We were flip with the lip, quick-witted, and we grew hard exteriors. We popped our gum like the grown-ups. We cussed when the elders weren't watching. Shape-shifting, becoming, experimenting, learning, growing, becoming masters of the art form. Double Dutch was life, and as Black girls, the game was our teacher. Okay, that's Double Dutch. All right, so let me see. So the next one I'll share, I know we had a request, but I'm gonna flow with it, family. I think that, one of the beautiful parts I talked about this intergenerational narrative and the beauty of generations and other mothers. But when I was a kid, one of my favorite other mothers was my neighbor. Her name was Miss Tanya. She lived right next door, and she would tell the best stories, and we would gather and just sit on the step. And so I wrote a poem about her called Big Dipper, Little Dipper. When I was a young Black girl playing on the block at night, my next door neighbor, Miss Tanya, would sit on the front steps and tell stories to the children. She was like a big sister on the block. She had thick, long black hair that she kept braided up in 2 plaits on each side. She walked with a little limp. Sometimes she sat in a wheelchair. She carried a fly swatter and she was smart. She drank homemade iced tea with lemon and gave us candy. All the little Black girls would gather on her front steps and listen to her stories. It was a convening, and our front steps was the meeting place, a time to wish, wonder, and learn. Squeeze tight real close so we could hear every word. Sometimes she would tell us stories with books. My favorite were the ones she told with no books at all, the ones she read from her mind. She was black and had Indian in her family, Cherokee. She talked about stars and the planets, atoms and dinosaurs, herbivores and ocean life, how to play Uno our way. She taught us etymology and how to choose our words wisely, molecules and gravity, Big Dipper, Little Dipper. She talked about pride and courage. She taught us to ask questions. She taught us to study hard so that we could gain knowledge. She taught us to be the smartest in the room, big sister, little sister. She looked after the girl children on the block. She kept a sharp eye out for the girl children, little sister, little sister. She always kept eyes sitting on that step. It didn't matter that she couldn't walk real good. She knew everything that happened on the block. She was an alchemist. At night, she became our master teacher, a keeper of stories, stimulating our prefrontal cortex, planting seeds of ideation, inquiry, rising. She was a healer, taught us how to solve problems with our thoughts, asked us to imagine what the sun looked like in the dark, taught us about elements and chemical reactions, told us to never let the boys and grown men touch on us. She told us that she would carry our secrets so they didn't weigh us down. So we told her everything so that we could walk easy. Little sister, little sister. She qualified our secrets, organizing data, making decisions about actions and inactions. Cause her mama, Miss May, told her to keep a watchful eye out for the girl children. Miss May told her daughter that she would carry her secrets so they didn't weigh her down. So Miss Tanya told her mama all her secrets and ours and everything she observed on the block, sitting on that step. And Miss May called Grandma Kathleen next door, and Grandma Kathleen called Miss Pauline from across the street, and Miss Pauline called Miss Johnny May from up the way, and Miss Johnny May called Miss Gladys across from us, and Miss Gladys called Miss Laws down the street, and Miss Laws called Miss Dolores on the corner. Blood mothers, other mothers. The women gathered in their meeting place in their kitchen tables on three-way, twirling phone cords in one hand, smoking a cigarette in the other, dinner on the stove, flame on low to keep it warm, taking names and collecting glances from the curtains, exchanging information and strategizing corrections, while the girl children were on the front steps learning about Big Dipper, Little Dipper. This network of black women were operators of our home place. Miss Tanya kept a watchful eye. She helped us access our superpowers through storytelling. She taught us fables and folk tales, fairy tales and not quite fairy tales about seeing spirits in the stairwell of her house, hovering over burgundy carpet, smelling the sweet scent of cigars and whiskey suddenly, and the lights flickering. These were the ancestors, she'd say, just an uncle passing by, nothing to be afraid of. We believed her, so we were unafraid. She continued with her stories about the stars, a constellation connoisseur, an astrologist. One night, as the black girls gathered at the meeting place, she told us that Little Dipper is where we could find Polaris, a very shiny, special star. The girls grew giddy. Ooh, who is Polaris? Who is Polaris? We squealed, anxious to learn more about this new character. Polaris is the North Star, and she sits at the handle of the Little Dipper. We gasped. Our jaws hit the floor. Big, wondrous eyes, wide-eyed with excitement. What? Because every black child growing up in the 90s knew of the North Star. We knew to search for the North Star to find our way home. Textbook math. The North Star was our global positioning symbol. In the summertime, while driving back to Philly from down south on 95, I searched for the North Star often from my back window in the back seat, slipping and sliding on a stack of yellow pages. I always knew my way home. I couldn't believe it. Polaris was the North Star, the same star that the same star that led Harriet Tubman to freedom. Every black child knew that Harriet led our ancestors to freedom, so Polaris is the star who shined a bright light for 13 trips and 70 lives. I couldn't believe that this North Star was also my North Star. Even better, now she had a name. Miss Tanya talked about stars like they were something that we could just reach up and pull right out the sky. She told us that we could, and we believed her. So we did. We grabbed the star, we cupped the stars in our palms, feeling their warmth, twirling them around. They never felt as heavy as I imagined. She taught us to see the stars the way we wanted to see them. I thought a lot about Polaris. Eyes closed, I imagined her as a black woman. Because what other kind of star could shine a light so distinctly bright for 13 trips and 70 lives? What other kind of star could match her frequency? What other kind of star could command such reverence, ethereal and wise? What other kind of star could carry Little Dipper to guide Harriet to freedom, 13 trips and 70 lives, connecting constellations to black liberation, Little Dipper, Little Dipper? What other kind of star could have assumed a most righteous position, channeling coded maps to the planet? North Star, favorite star, keeper of secrets, watchers of the children. Black women were the operators of our home place. And Polaris was a black woman who shapeshifted into a star. Little Dipper, she's so brave. And there I was, facing Polaris. I said, so you're the mighty North Star. How mighty you had to have been to carry that light for our ancestors all alone. How mighty you are, celestial and brave. Polaris looked at me and smiled, leaning slightly to the left, glancing over her right shoulder so that I could see the truth. Big Dipper was right there behind her, a cluster of sisters. Polaris said, I was never alone because my mama is always here. You must find Big Dipper to find me. Big Dipper, Little Dipper. Big Dipper was a cluster of black women, Polaris' blood mother and other mothers, keeping a watchful eye over their star child. Sisters to other constellations, exchanging information on three-way, creating coded maps in the sky using zodiacs, telling Polaris that they'll carry all of her secrets so they didn't weigh her down. So Polaris told Big Dipper everything so that she could shine her bright light without strain for 13 trips and 70 lives. I opened my eyes, sitting next to Miss Tanya, sharing my daydream about Polaris, staring up at that black night sky, wishing, hoping, longing to one day have what Polaris had. Big Dipper, Little Dipper.
Excellent.
All right. Y'all good? Y'all with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I got like two more. My kids in here. All right. Well, all right. Can I read this one? Husband said, go ahead. All right, I'm gonna read it. So, thank you, Dr. Hardaway, yes. But it's so funny because one of the things my husband always says is, you wouldn't know I was a doctor if I didn't tell you, or if I didn't write a book and put it on the cover. I'm not a traditional academic, and I think the process of writing is captured in this next poem. It's called Real Shit. Real shit. I needed a break from academic scholarship. I needed to write through my pain. I needed a safe space to shed these thug tears, weary tears from the depths of my soul. Tears for my inner girl child, for the things that she's seen, things no child should ever see. Tears for her yearning for her mother, tears for all the time stolen away, tears for her wondering if she is worthy, tears for her searching for mothers and others. I needed a safe space to cry tears for my daughters, who will never get a chance to meet their maternal grandmother, for all the memories unmade, all the time stolen, for the implications buried in the questioning of who their grandmother was, for the warm embrace that only a grandmother can give, an embrace they will never know. After my most ugliest cries, I channeled the strength of my ancestors, remembering to speak up, reminding me who I am. This is so hard. I wiped my tears and I continued to write. Writing through the worlds I created for my mother, and my mind came easy like Sunday morning, and I welcomed these thoughts with a warm embrace. I marveled at the idea of writing her free. I closed my eyes and I imagined my mother resting well, laying easy in a meadow or some flower field under a new sun, smiling bright, unbothered, hydrated, calm, imperturbable, thick from good eating. Respite, peace, and joy was restored when I thought about my mother in this way. Using my radical imagination granted me access to a type of calm that I never knew that I possessed. So I wrote like hell to capture the moments of my mind. Could you imagine this type of peace for your ancestors? The way I saw it, there was no other person in my life who deserved such rest, and as her daughter, I would be the one to give it to her. Creatively, I was unleashed. I discovered an outlet. I wrote poems and not quite poems, and detailed memories, many of which centered my mother and many that did not. On my quest to find my mother's humanity, I suddenly recalled memories I had long forgotten. Memories triggered the creation of new stories, stories that erased the residue. What was this? Phenomena was happening, and I needed the language to describe it. I needed to know. I needed a framework. I needed a framework that serves us. I needed a framework that would allow me to resurrect hood tales and complicate epistemological and ontological praxis in the same paragraph because I can and don't require anyone's permission to do so. I needed a framework that destroys the myth and amplifies the margin. I needed a framework that focused less on implications for policy and practice for institutions that never served us and more on shit that I could actually use to heal this pain right now. I needed a framework that serves those of us who are secretly in need of healing from some form of cultural trauma. I needed a framework that allows me to combine theory with practice because, like Asada said, the two must go together. I needed a framework theoretically grounded in our knowings, one that culturally centers us as agents because we don't have time to explain why. I needed a framework free from judgment and centered in my truth. I needed a framework that embraced my speculations and my musings, one that allowed me to write uninhibited, easy. I needed a framework that gave me the space to process cultural trauma as a site for healing. I needed a framework that gave me practical tools. I needed a framework that embraced this energy. I needed a pathway. So on the quest to search for my mother's humanity and to tell her story, I created one. So that's good. All right. So I will do one more. I could do two more, but I'll do. I'll do the one about my mother because I think that's a good way to end this. So in the book I talk about one of the conversations I had with my mother's best friend, Miss Rashida Geraldine. And it's a story that I think is really important because when we think about who we are, like who knows us best, y'all? Our friends, our girlfriends. Our homies, you know what I mean? Our family knows us, but our friends know our secrets. And so talking to my mother's best friend gave me, it fills so many voids, it fills so many gaps. And so I wrote a poem about my conversation with Miss Rashida and things that she shared with me. And it's actually the inspiration for the cover. It's called Drumming and Snowstorms. While speaking with my mother's best childhood friend, we talked about my mother's love for music at an early age. She shared that one of her favorite memories was during a snowstorm when the streets were completely blocked with snow. It was 1966, 1967, or maybe it was 1968. It didn't matter. What mattered is that there was so much snow that it came up all the way to the living room windows. So everyone came outside to play and have snowball fights. She said that my mother brought her drum set outside, sat it right on top of the snow, and started playing music for the entire block. She recalled the Christmas lights that lit up the streets, and everyone was dancing to the memory, or to my mother playing the drums in the snow during the snowstorm. She described it as a joyous time. She said my mother's favorite artist was Santana. While everybody was listening to Marvin Gaye and Earth, Wind and Fire, my mother listened to Santana. She loved animals and had a little gray poodle named Gigi. She felt like my mother had never had a chance to rebound after her addiction. She said your mother's heart was made of pure gold. She described my mother as soft-spoken, extremely friendly, and naive with a big heart. She was always smiling and laughing, sweet and genuine, a generous soul. She would give you her last dollar. She would give away anything she had. She said your mother had a soft heart and people with soft hearts get taken advantage of. She attributed my mother's downfall to trusting others too easily. My mother was pretty with long black hair. She said she was gorgeous, but she didn't choose this on her own. She said whatever demons she had, I'm telling you, not even a tablespoon of it was on her own. It was not on her own. So that's Drumming and Snowstorms. How y'all feel? Y'all all right?
Yeah.
All right. Y'all want to hear one more, or
Yes.
should I sit down somewhere? I mean, you know, look.
Read one more.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Read the whole book.
Okay. Let me see. I'm a little blind a little bit, so I'm like, let's get to the light. Come over here to the light. Okay, so yes, we were having conversations about our elders, and our great Aunt Joya was such a beautiful elder because she was one of those elders that treated everybody the same. Like it didn't matter which generation you came from. So I would watch her talk to my aunts and uncles the same way she talked to us, and that was fascinating to me because I was like, oh, she's bossing everybody around. It's not just us, you know. This was her energy, but I wrote a poem called Lessons from My Great Aunt Julia. All right. I learned a lot from the elders in my girlhood. My great Aunt Julia would sit in her rocking chair watching the afternoon news on 6 ABC. One leg was amputated and her wig sat on the table right beside her. Too much sugar. She rocked in that chair using her good leg. She had a little stutter and she made the best pound cake, moist and thick. Her secret was the cream cheese. She had wall-to-wall green carpeting and floral wallpaper. In the living room, her couch was covered in plastic. Sometimes we get stuck and break out in sweats during the afternoon naps in the summertime. She would sit in that rocking chair and tell me how precious I was. She called me her baby doll. And I always felt stronger when I was around her because she was always fussing, always correcting our posture and our speech. It didn't matter if she was talking to us kids or to my aunts and uncles. She taught us all to speak up and to sit up straight. Matriarchs making corrections. It truly was a marvel to witness this intergenerational exchange as a girl child. Stop leaning forward or you'll get a hunchback. Chew with your mouth closed. Cross your legs. Speak up. If you talk real low, people won't be able to hear you. Fix your pants. Don't say ain't. Do this. Don't do that. Speak up. She gave me money from her bra and told me to never leave it all in one place. She had money stashed all over her house, fussing and always adjusting everyone, imparting information, making us stronger. No matter what it was, she had the remedy, an herbalist, unbothered, unbreakable, fearless, acute, precise, correcting perfunctory behavior, uninterested in personal boundaries, molding us like she was shaping a newborn baby's head. When we were sick as kids, we were sent to Aunt Julia's house to get better. Natural healer, she had the remedies. She cut up onions and put them everywhere. At night, she set onions on the nightstand and put them in my socks to break my fevers. She kept her remedies stored up in her medicine cabinet. Told me to go up in that cabinet and grab the cod liver and castor oil when I had a stomach pain or a seasonal cold or a mosquito bite. Made me take a few sips of garlic water before bed. Made me brush my teeth with baking soda and peroxide. She knew what was going on in every room in her house at any given moment. She could see everything. She was a shapeshifter. She knew exactly where everything was in her house. She taught me about the power of our memory. She told me to go out and learn all that I could so that one day I could be the smartest in the room. Elders teaching the children how to use their brains, testing and evaluating how well we were using them. In one breath, she'd say, Ayana, pay attention. Go upstairs in the middle room, look in the second drawer in the closet closest to the window, look up under them navy blue pants, fold it up in the back corner, look in the left pocket and pass me that envelope. Yes, ma'am. Then I go skipping up the stairwells because walking took too long, trying to use my memory like she told me to, repeating the steps in my mind as I journeyed forth on this quest. I followed her guidance to a T. I went into the middle room and spotted the dresser by the window. The window was open, letting in a cool breeze. I spied a fly sitting on the windowsill, watching me. I smiled at it and swatted it away. It flew around the room, keeping watch as I checked each drawer, looking for the navy blue pants. The fly landed on the dresser, smiling back at me. Found it! I found the drawer that had the navy blue pants, and there was the envelope in the exact spot where my great Aunt Julia said it would be. I was amazed, in awe of her superpower. She could see everything at all times. I went flying down the stairwell at record speed because kids must run everywhere. Got it! She looked at me and smiled and said, I know. Then she asked me if I had seen my mother in the neighborhood. Yes, ma'am. She'd shake her head and say, it's terrible what's happening to these young people. That's still your mother. She's just sick. She would lean forward in her chair, putting weight on her good leg. Then she asked if my mom had been over to the house for a hot meal lately. Yes, ma'am. She sat back in her chair, using her good leg to start rocking again, satisfied at my answer. She studied me and nodded her head in approval. Mm-hmm. That's right. Good. Good. My great Aunt Julia was making sure that we were continuing the tradition. Then she opened up that envelope, passed me 2 crisp $20 bills, told me to roll it up real small and put it in my overnight bag. Give this to your grandmother when you get home, and don't tell anyone else about it. Yes, ma'am. Elders, sisters, shapeshifters, operators of our home place, blood mothers, other mothers, keeping a watchful eye over the children.
Right.
So that's just some of the poetry that poured out of me as I was doing this memory work. And it's really incredible because thinking about Aunt Julia and talking about her again, reviving these ancestors, it's important for us to tell these stories, so that I'm happy my children are here listening to these stories about their great Aunt Julia. So this is the point of this work, whatever your creative expression is, but this memory recollection is preservation. Restoring our bloodlines is our duty. It is our job. It is not the responsibility of our elders. It is our job. Young people, talk to your elders while they are here. Document it. And I love that there are authors in the space, self-publish. One of the things that we're doing with Wildflowers Co is providing book coaching to teach people how to publish their own books. I'm an academic. I've been publishing in years in these journals, and I said, no, this is mine. This is not for the academy. This is for my people. This is for my community. This is for my children. And so reclaiming our stories, we don't need permission to document our family history, y'all. So I hope that this was okay. And thank you so much again for coming out tonight. Thank you so much again for Mama, you already know. Thank you so much, PCYC, for partnering for this event. Thank y'all for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here tonight. And everything is divine, timing is divine. So thank you so much, and I hope that you received a word and something resonated with you. So I know we didn't get a chance to do question and answer, but we can have dialogue, family, if there's any questions or